consists of the activities that the IT organization executes to keep the enterprise environment operational. These activities include proactively collecting resource status data, managing all the event problems, customers' requests, and queries, restoring service availability with minimal interruption, escalating unresolved incidents to specialists, determining the root cause of recurring critical or escalated incidents, analyzing the environment to prevent problems, performing day-to-day routine change administration. What many of you in the audience will soon come to realize is that information technology is no different than any other corporate resale. If you do not have a service level management plan in place, it is difficult to measure objectives and determine who is accountable for an interruption of service. With telecommunications and IT, there does tend to be an intimidation factor for many employees since many enabling technologies are new. It has been my experience that for telecommunications and information technology projects, it is important for someone to champion the project. This champion should be a single manager or group of managers that can visualize how this new technology can benefit everyday business goals and objectives. Once they define the critical points that will impact business operations as any service is interrupted, then the impact of downtime or loss of service needs to be evaluated. This likely results in a service level management policy, which will be the basis for defining service level agreements with your key service providers. For most information technology projects to have a successful completion, it is necessary that all levels of the organization be informed and buy into the general business plan. Today, most IT projects that begin to use new technologies will outsource services from an outside consultant to help senior management define goals and objectives, then determine short and long-term project feasibility. These consultants should have from 10 to 15 years of information technology and business project planning experience. Overall, a good consultant can save thousands misspent dollars by determining if your business will or will not benefit from the implementation of new technologies such as the Internet. The cost can range from $800 to $1,000 per day for a knowledgeable IT consultant. Many organizations such as the World Future Society, MBA schools, Internet software vendors have lists of qualified consultants, or you can contact me for referrals based on your specific needs. The complete integration of telecommunications and computers has taken many twists and turns over the past 20 years. Now there are a host of leading corporations and service providers that are able to offer the general public integrated information systems that truly enhance our abilities to communicate electronically anytime we choose. This is a very, very exciting time for the small to medium-sized business that has a product to sell or a service to deliver that has worldwide appeal. The evolution of telecommunications and computing is now packaged into a truly integrated information system that is based on global communications standards. Today, many global markets provide a level playing field between large and small businesses due to the fact that the final integration of telecommunications and computing is a business tool that most businesses can afford. The same integrated information system scenario that is acted out daily by U.S. business is also a very viable business model for organizations in Mexico, Central America, and South America. The time is now to implement your telecommunications strategy as part of your global business planning process. If you do not have the staff members internally that can help formulate a big picture using integrated communications strategy, turn to a company that does IT outsourcing such as CSC or an experience-based business consultant that has first-hand knowledge of implementing information. Finally, with the globalization of telecommunications standards, you should be able to find ISDN or equivalent frame relay services in your local market. If a reliable global telecom provider is not available in your region of the world, you can find many in the U.S. on the back of covers of industry magazines such as Information Week and Data Communications, to name a few.
Thank you, Mr. Mahon. Let us continue with the second question and answer session. We have a question from Chihuahua, from the Universidad Autónoma de Chihuahua. Welcome. Your question, please.
Our question is, you have mentioned that the telecommunication systems are recommended. How do you recommend to implement this? And what would be the main parameters that should be measured?
As I've talked about it, I think the first thing is to have a plan in terms of what you expect to accomplish. Okay, once you know what you want to accomplish using telecommunications, there's multiple vendors to work through, either public and private.
Mm-hmm. And have there been studies of the effectiveness of multimedia and telecommunication, of real measures of it?
Probably today one area is called collaborative computing, or the virtual corporation, where you're able to take your expertise on a global basis, and these people can communicate electronically and essentially provide the same level of information as if we were sitting in the same room.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question now from Venezuela, from the Universidad Central de Venezuela in Caracas. Welcome. Your question, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Our question is the following. What type of protection can we use to prevent the pirating and copying of multimedia programs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the best protection really is educating everyone not to violate copyright laws and regulations. It's something that we need to inculcate in our culture. That's really the best protection. There are technical solutions, but any time that you have a technical solution, it can be overcome.
And we have a question now from Mexico, from the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, the Faculty of Veterinary and Zoological Medicine. Welcome. Your question, please.
Very much. Let's see. This is a question that we would like to ask the first speaker. You are saying that if somebody wants to create a multimedia production for a CD-ROM, you need to consider the sale of 15,000 copies to recoup the expenses. However, I designed my program, a psychological program for multimedia, with authorware, and it was much cheaper, and I was able to sell it at a lower scale. What is your opinion about lower cost? Thank you very much.
In my example was an example of a corporate product and paying salaries to corporate employees, and so that's how you get those numbers, 15,000 for marketing and so forth. Obviously, in educational settings, we don't pay corporate salaries, we don't pay union wages, and we can produce our products a lot cheaper, and I congratulate you for creating a less expensive product.
And we go now to Costa Rica. We have a question from Sabino Morera y Asociados in San Jose. Welcome. Your question, please.
Yes, I would like to know what is the role that the new interfaces play, the Ph.11 and H12 play in multimedia production.
I am not really familiar with those terms. I'm not quite sure what HPH means. Can we be more specific?
¿Podría aclarar esa pregunta, por favor? Yes. This is an interface that allows a variable speed which you can choose, which right now you can choose 834 kilobits per second, 800 and 2048 kilobits per second. And I believe this was developed especially for multimedia equipment.
Oh, okay. Now I think I'm beginning to understand this. These are new international standards for making multimedia available on existing telephone lines, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're speaking of H.323. That is the new standard for broadcasting telecommunications for multimedia, and I guess Michael can elaborate on that as well.
Yeah, I'm also really don't recall that term, but in terms of multimedia and telecommunications, we are going towards a standards base, and that's what I tried to bring out in my presentation. That's really the key to communicate globally. So if this is a standard, and there are governing bodies that propose these standards, and there are several right now.
Okay, we have a question from Quintana Roo from the Instituto Tecnológico de Chetumal. Welcome. Your question, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon. What do you see as the future being for collaborative systems?
I see the future as very bright. I think today, as corporations and government and education realize that their resources are usually throughout the world, the use of collaborative computing, along with the internet, has really taken off in the last year. As we're able to get better telecommunications lines globally, you're going to see it used more and more.
We have a call from Bolivia, from the Universidad Privada Boliviana. Welcome. Your question, please.
Good morning. My question is the following. By ISDN connected through a T1 line, the frame relay trunk line, can you send images from the medical area for long distance surgical procedures through a modem, HDCL modem, without losing frames? Esa es la pregunta.
Yes.
Is that possible?
Yes, and that's the purpose of having a high-speed line and using either frame relay or ISDN, is that you're able to size that line based on what you want to transmit. So if it's video, if it's large video files, you're able to resize that broadcast and not lose frames. Good question.
And a call from Panama, the Universidad Tecnológico de Panamá, Centro Regional Chiriquí. Welcome. Your question, please.
Thank you. What is the recommended standard for the integration of telecommunications?
Any standard?
Yeah. The direction has always been in terms of high bandwidth T1 lines. They're very costly. Where we're going now is frame relay and ISDN and asynchronous transfer mode. All three of those telecommunications devices allow you to then resize how you want to use your information so that you can send multiple bits of information over the same line versus just one large pipe.
And a question from Colombia, from the Federación Nacional de Comerciantes in Medellín. Welcome. Your question.
Morning. How long will it take, do you think, that in countries such as ours, we will replace the CD-ROM with a DVD? And what implications will this event have in the different fields or industries?
It would be just a matter of different vendors and different sales representatives being able to present the product in your market. I don't think that it will take very long to do that. What makes it a little bit prohibitive is the cost of production at this point. That's a little bit high and may prevent some organizations to be able to implement it right away. The implications are for having massive storage capability for any multimedia application.
We have a question from Jalisco, from the Instituto Tecnológico de Ocotlan. Welcome. Your question, please.
Yes, good morning. Our question is the following. How will a business impact global markets through the internet? And should this company start by having an intranet? Thank you.
Yes, I would say both. I think globally as well in the U.S., with what we commonly call internetworking, which would be the internet and intranets, we're all in a learning phase of what works and what doesn't work. But I think we are seeing more and more businesses that have specialized expertise taking that to the internet to sell globally.
And we have a question from Córdoba, Argentina, from the Instituto Universidad Empresa and the Universidad Blas Pascal. Welcome. Your question, please.
Yes, good morning. I wanted to ask you, what will be the role of the PDML development of multimedia, which is in 3 dimensions? Perdón, ¿puede repetir esa segunda parte de la pregunta? And whether the information network, Internet or Internet 2, will allow for the use of the information with no delays.
Well, Internet 2 is supposed to be 1,000 times faster than what we have in place right now. So with that kind of speed, I suppose that you can communicate with no delay. The 3D interactive multimedia obviously will require a lot of bandwidth, but I think that in the future, when we are talking about unlimited bandwidth, there's not really any concern for having delays or having not be able to present 3D images online.
Yeah, and if you notice through my presentation, I think once we get past the bandwidth issue, which we will, it's more the service delivery. So you can have the connectivity, but are you going to have that service delivery without interruptions?
And a question from Sinaloa, from the Colegio de Bachilleres Estado de Sinaloa in Culiacán. Welcome. Your question.
Yes, good morning. We want to greet you. We have a low-speed network, 64 kilobits per second, in an internet fashion, which works in our facilities in the state. We have produced multimedia discs for instructional purposes, and would like to take advantage of this intranet to be able to have collaborative multimedia developments throughout our receiving sites. What would be the methodology and tools that you would recommend for this? Thank you.
That's a very broad question. I think that again, in terms of what you want to do, is very complex, and so you have to really plan that out. I think the collaborative side can be done today over the internet using a tool which is free from Microsoft called NetMeeting. In terms of the actual video, I think that at this point in time you may have to package that and to zip it up so it's in a smaller file size if you don't have the bandwidth.
And we have a question from the Universidad Tecnológica de Nezahualcóyotl. Welcome, and your question, please.
What is the methods to control viruses for the multimedia systems? in general, what is the risk level that this implies?
Well, I don't think that it's any different in multimedia application than any other application. You have to have your virus protection software running at all times on your computer and making sure that viruses don't enter your system. There's no difference between multimedia and other applications.
And I'd like to add to that is that as we use this technology more and more for business process or for an educational setting, we segment our network. So we have an internet which is public and we have a private internet. One of the devices that we use is called Secure ID. So only authorized users can get onto your network.
And we have a question from Guanajuato, the Comisión Federal de Electricidad in Irapuato. Welcome. Your question, please.
Sí, ¿cuál es la pregunta, por favor? Yes, this is the Comisión Federal de Electricidad, Secapa, Mexico Federal District. We have mentioned everything related to virus mechanisms for multimedia. However, regarding the bandwidth and the ATM, will we have the relationship para efectos de, and we will be able to use it for virtual reality applications?
I don't think that there is any difference in virus protection among applications. So just you need to take the same precautions as you normally do.
We have run out of time. Thank you for your many excellent questions. And thanks again to Dr. Saba and Mr. Mahon. We hope that you've enjoyed participating in this video conference. And thank you to all of our associates for their enthusiastic participation. We invite you to participate on May 14th in the next program from the International Training Center's 1998 series. The topic is Leadership and Ethics in a Global Environment, Basic Principles for Organizational Success. For additional information on the International Training Center's programs for this year, please consult your participants manual, where you will find the dates and specific topics for each program. Also, if you are interested in participating in training programs which will be offered by the International Training Center, please contact the Center by letter, phone, or fax. I'm Mike Reel, and on behalf of all of us who collaborate with the International Training Center, I thank you for your participation and interest in today's important program.